Hey Lynn fam, hope you're all keeping warm in the snow. It is freezing, so I've got my snuggly hoodie on, trying to keep as warm as possible. I'm back with another unlimited transfer draft. This time it is going to be double game week player heavy, so you get a good idea on who we can load up on who has double game weeks. So if you're loving the content, then please do drop a like. Let's try hit 70 likes on this video. That would be fabulous. Do leave me a comment below. Is there a player that's been absolutely locked in your team no matter what draft you've made? Also, if you're loving the content, then please do subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me. Okay, let's get after this. Alright, so my keepers are the same as my previous draft. We do now know though that Kepa has been in training, so that is a positive. Chelsea play a friendly next week, so hopefully I've got fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed that we get a look at Kepa then and know that he is back from injury and going to be the starting #1 Chelsea goalkeeper. That's the hope anyway. In defence, there's been a couple of changes here. James has come in for Shaw. Again, like Kepa, I'll be waiting for the friendly for confirmation on James's fitness before locking him into my team. But if he gets any minutes during that match, I am seriously considering him from the start, because we all know that James can go big and he can also give us 1 point. So, you know, it's about taking risks sometimes with FPL. This would be a big risk, but potentially also massive reward. Patterson comes in for Bueno, just a little upgrade for another cheap enabler really, another one that has had some game time. In midfield, somehow I haven't caved yet and got KDB back in, though I'm still battling with myself on him versus Foden. Mount has been the big change here. He has come in for Rashford. Now I'm still undecided if I should start with Rashford or Kulusevski and then move to Mount for the double game week. Now, if I started with Rashford, I could do a kind of little hop along. So I could go Rashford to Mount to Kulusevski and then on to anyone after that, potentially with double game weeks. So I'm trying to get a good mix of fixtures with doublers here, but it is banking in transfers. So if I definitely say start with a Kulusevski or a Rashford, I am likely to want to move one of those on for, say, a Mount for a double game week before then moving on to Kulusevski. Something to think about. So going from Mount from the start allows for another doubler in game week 19 without booking any transfers in, and then you can worry about extra transfers down the line. However, it does mean that because Kulusevski is 8 million, I do need to consider whether or not I'm going to be able to afford him by the time his double comes around. Up front, Haaland and Mitro have kept their place from my last draft, but I've added Nketiah this time instead of Darwin to free up some cash. Nketiah should be nailed for a few game weeks unless we sign someone up front in the January window, which I think is highly doubtful, given that Nketiah is doing really well in Dubai with the warm weather training and friendlies, and I just think he'll be good cover potentially for Jesus whilst he's out. So he should be a nailed on starter for Arsenal for at least a couple of game weeks yet. This gives me another doubler for game week 23, and I'm happy to bench him more than I would be, say, a Darwin, given that I had some massive benching headaches in my last draft. Okay, so the positives of this draft is that it's got lots of doublers already, obviously if they all start, and a good bench to fall back on if they don't start. The negatives are that it's potentially another benching headache. There are still some really good players in this team that I'd be benching most weeks, but it also has some injury worries with, you know, your Jameses and your Kepas. I've not run this through a planner yet to see how it would look, so I thought I'd do that with you guys now. This is FPL team. If you guys want to have a look at how your team looks in the future weeks, you can go and check them out. I'm not affiliated in any way. It's just a helpful little planner. So I'd likely set up like this for game week 17 and then hopefully roll in game week 18. Obviously, this is a lot of Arsenal on the bench, but you know, they can be played over other players if they are looking brilliant from the off again. Then into into game week 19, I would have potentially 4 doublers in the 3 Chelsea and Mitrovic, all being well. So then I could maybe with a transfer consider bringing in somebody else if I wanted to. Unless I've got any problems, I'll roll. The other thing is, with a couple of transfers under my belt, if some of these players are looking a little dodgy for the double game week, it does give me a chance to maybe change them to somebody else who might be looking like a better option, potentially. You know, if James isn't playing very much and say Chilwell is, then, you know, I could maybe make a swap there. Moving on to game week 20, I would get in Kulusevski for Mount if I could afford it. At the moment, I have the exact cash, but I may not have that come game week 20. So this may be another reason for potentially starting with Kulusevski, then moving to Mount just for the double and then back again if I'm finding that transfers are doing good. But yeah, it would mean that I would need Mount to go up or Kulusevski to stay the same. Now, if he stays the same, then that probably means his form is a little bit not great, which can go either way then. It's taking a risk that he'd, you know, do okay against a Man City and an Arsenal. That's definitely something to think about, but it does give you 4 potential doublers in game week 20. Then in 21, this is likely how I would roll. It's a bit of a tough one, this one. Maybe with an extra transfer, I could do something here just to better it. We would also need to wait and see if there are any doublers or any blanks added into this game week. So that is one to think about here. So having the extra transfer here could be really helpful. Moving on to game week 22, then I'd likely play my Arsenal guys. I don't know, maybe I'd probably play him over Mitro and maybe White ahead of Kulu for that one. All being well, wouldn't really need to make any transfers there, pretty happy. And then game week 23, I would be looking at 6 doublers. Now, the other good thing about rolling again in the previous week would mean that if for some reason, say, Odegaard was looking better or Saka was looking better, or maybe even Jesus was back and Nketiah was losing his place by this point, then having 2 transfers maybe allows me to go heavily into similar players from the same teams but in better form. But it does allow me cover if for whatever reason everyone in my team is doing good, then hopefully I might not even need to do it and I might be able to sort out maybe one of my fringe players or even get a player in ahead of the next lot of fixtures without worrying too much about it. The main takeaway from this particular draft seems to be I'm still on Foden somehow over KDB. I'm still not sure how I feel about that. If any of you guys have been able to make a similar draft like this with KDB in it, then please do let me know. I still have Salah, and I guess that seems to be the main thing, people deciding whether they want to go with KDB or Salah. For me, I've still got Salah in this team. I am taking risks on starting players from Chelsea based on the doubles. And yet again, I'm still wondering if Andreas, instead of Mount and keeping the money in the bank, may be more of a flexible strategy than using up that 5th midfielder spot already for a premium player. So let me know what you guys think about that. And that's it, you guys. Thanks for watching. If you've got all this video up, then please do smash a like and please do subscribe to the channel. You're really helping me out. Let me know which of my 2 drafts so far you prefer and what would you change. And lastly, please feel free to check out the sponsors of this video, fantasyfootballfix.com. Until next time, Lynn out.